Ever notice that the person causing a problem rarely owns their part in it? This week we're digging into the idea of contribution, not in a positive sense, but the uncomfortable truth, the uncomfortable reality. You played a part, now own it. Ownership isn't about shame, it's about freedom. And until you own your contribution in any given situation, you're going to be stuck in the story. You're going to be trapped in your patterns. You're going to be chained, if you will, to the version of yourself that keeps repeating the same lessons. And it's all because, well, not all, but partially because you're trying to control. You know, the greatest, I wrote this down the other day, the greatest secret ever exposed is in front of our faces. And that's the development of personal responsibility and accountability. You know, the individual that is willing and does take full responsibility with every life experience that they have no need to control another person or an outcome. They own their contribution to any given situation, and they know that they will figure it out on how to respond. Now, the one who resists taking responsibility and being accountable, they have an increased need to control everyone's actions. And it escalates, right? So they are constantly faced with opportunity to take responsibility. Life will keep bringing them the opportunity to fix it. But when they don't, they'll continue to be faced with the same disharmony and unhappiness that they've been experiencing. Life isn't happening to you, it's happening because of you. And when you don't get it, that you have to develop these qualities. These are qualities in nature. Nature will obligate you to these qualities. You're not going to get away from it. That's all there is to it. I was telling a friend the other day, you know, it's remarkable to me that, listen, you're going to hit speed bumps and you're going to keep hitting speed bumps because you won't develop this in yourself. And eventually you're going to hit a wall and then you're going to slam into a wall. And then how often do you want to keep slamming into that wall? I mean, you could do it like for the rest of your life. So good morning once again, and welcome to another episode of Iconic Freedom, the formula. We are setting a standard for accountability and responsibility, that ownership of your choices and the ability to respond to the choices. Let each care for self, and all will be cared for. So what is the formula? Well, it's basically what we just said is, you know, developing a standard of accountability and responsibility. And it's understanding the formula in your life to pull those elements down. Think of it as that element chart, you know, that you can look at, you know, scientifically, forensically, and you pull down elements and you put them together and they create magic. And if you pull down elements that don't create magic, they create what? Destruction. So that's what it's all about. It's about the idea of pulling down those elements in that periodic chart that are of choice, of responsibility, and accountability, and making that your standard. Okay, so I want to talk about spotting this pattern. Ownership will start with basically noticing, right? You need to self-reflect. There's no self-correct without self-reflect. That sounds catchy. Write that down. But the questions to ask yourself are, what keeps happening? What is the pattern that keeps emerging? What keeps happening in my life every time I make this choice? Or every time I do such and such? What keeps happening? And then what's the common denominator in all of those things? If you list down, say, the top 5 things that keep occurring in your life that you can think of, what's the common denominator, right? I mean, I don't want to give away the plot. I mean, the end of the story, but it's you. And then what part did I either create, did I allow, or did I reinforce? Because, listen, you don't need to hate yourself to own your part. You don't have to self-flog and do some public flogging. You don't need to do that. You just need to be honest. You need to stop scamming yourself and start getting real and paying attention to reality. What is reality? Reality is the observation of behavior, of what's happening, the situation, without emotion. Not an easy thing to do for people initially, but you move to a place where you can, where you don't need to have an emotion about it. You can just see it. And I will tell you that until you start to spot your own patterns, you will not be able to shift your self-empowerment, if you will. You will not be able to shift that part of yourself until you start to recognize what's going on and your contribution to things. What will happen a lot of times is that people will blame. You see this all over the place, right? You see it with your friends, your family, maybe your partner. You see it on the news. You watch it in movies and on TV. You read it in books. There's blame, blame, blame. But blame, a lot of times people don't realize that blame is an illusion of power. When you're pointing the finger at somebody, it's an illusion of power because you think that by pointing the finger, you're laying the responsibility on somebody, but you're not, because there's nobody to blame. Whatever the situation is between two people, both people contribute, right? And both people they are obligated to take responsibility and accountability for all the choices within any given situation. Ownership is a very real thing. Like Coke is the real thing. So is ownership, right? So when you start to blame people, you are basically outsourcing your responsibility. You are giving it to somebody else because you will not take it for yourself. You will delay your growth. You will atrophy the ability to enjoy your life because life will keep presenting you experiences for you to fix it. And if you keep trying to blame others, it's just going to get louder, right? And then the other thing is that you stall reality. You stall the ability to see reality and then to live reality because you're so distracted by trying to blame other people and control an outcome, because that's really what you're trying to do when you blame other people, is you're trying to control an outcome so that everybody's looking at that other person and not looking at you. That's what I think is so funny about people when they split up with somebody and they want to sit there and say, oh, it's the other person's fault. No, it's not. The other person was just being who they were. You have to take responsibility for you and your contribution in any given situation. The last relationship I had was about 5 years ago, and I am grateful I went through it. I blame no one for anything that I did in the relationship. I accept and I own every contribution and everything that came out of my mouth, every action I took, and I'm so glad that I did it because it saturated me with an individual that I know I never want to have in my life again. Not just that person, but the qualities of that person or the lack of qualities in that person. And that I would stay away from people like that. And you know what? I can sniff it a mile away now. And I would never go down that road. So it's in many ways, it's kind of a gift. Okay, so there's this like blame to breakthrough type of thing, right? That happens, that blame is this illusion of power, but ownership being the real thing. So when you own your contribution in something, you are going to shift from being, say, helpless to being capable. And you will stop being a victim of your own story. You'll stop telling your story. I encourage everyone to stop telling your story. And you will create a possibility, a canvas, a landscape of opportunity for change. You will never master accountability if you keep looking to blame other people. I'll say it again. You will never master accountability if you keep looking to blame other people, because that's not how it works. If you think about it, that power of owning your contribution, it's your agency, right? It's your energy, and we know energy is not neutral. It's moving all the time, right? That's one of the things that I remember years ago. I think it was John Bradshaw that said it, that there was this thing about emotion that is energy in motion. And I thought, oh, that's very clever. I don't know if he wrote that, but it's energy in motion. It's like, no, we don't want emotion. We want to step away from emotion. We want to utilize emotion as those little triggers that go, pay attention to this. Because what is that? I want you to connect to the idea that the emotion, the moment that you go, that is the whisper. And if you are able to find that whisper in your life, I'm having that happiness, that anger, that upset, that whatever it is, type of emotion. Oh, that's the whisper in my ear. That's it. Take it. Take that moment, be excited about it, and say, now, what's the next step that I want to take? What is it that I want to do so that I don't create problems? Because you will. You'll just keep creating one problem after another because you won't take ownership. So you will stop, being a victim of your own story, of course, but you will create that possibility of change. And you will manage the energy, the agency that is yourself. But you have to ask in any given situation, what energy did I bring? Where was I putting out what was I putting out that created an invitation for this dynamic? Because you have to own that. It's even in the most subtle forms of interacting with someone that you are putting out an energy. You're inviting something into the dynamic. So in many ways, when people say, what kind of energy are you putting out? What intentions are you putting out? There's a lot of validity to that when you think about it. Even silence is a contribution. Passivity is a choice. I've said for years to people, listen, no choice is still a choice because life is going to keep moving whether you're participating or not. Life will keep moving. So I guess the thing is that, how do you rewrite this story, right? Because when you own your part in something, you get to gain access, if you will. And, you start to, you gain access to what? To reality, right? Because you are now seeing things unemotionally and seeing them as they are, not as you wish them to be. And, you really start to have real growth. You find yourself basically growing emotionally in that, my emotions are indicators for me to pay attention to something, not to live there. And I can tell you from my own experience that I have actual peace. People run around all the time going, I just wish I had some peace and quiet. I just wish I actually do. And I can be standing in Grand Central Station in the middle of the day during, their high season, during, their busy commute time and still feel very peaceful. Because all of it is an internal job. It's all internal work. It has nothing to do with anybody on the outside. I was on X this week, and there was a couple of people that, I interacted with, and I just said, listen, your TDS is what's causing you to have an issue. Is that you go deaf, dumb, and blind whenever, the president is speaking or has something to say or tweets or truths or whatever. And it's like you're not owning the fact that everything that you do Every contribution that you have to something is internally about you. It's only about you. You can try to make it about the other person, but you know what? They're just an actor in the psychodrama that you're experiencing. It's not real, because it's everything in you that is manifesting, trying to work it out, trying to clean it up, trying to work it out. Owning your contribution isn't just about admitting to fault, so that you can suffer. Oh, I'm so sorry. If you heard this podcast a few weeks ago, you heard me say that, apologies are just, it's useless sentiment. It's sentimental salve, for the person that is trying to be excused from a behavior, from responsibility. When, all you need to do is just say, oh, okay, well, let me fix that. I see where the error was on my side of it, so let me fix that. That's all you got to say. All of this I'm sorry stuff, and somebody that's wanting you to say I'm sorry, that is just about them, that they literally want you to lick their wounds. But it's really, taking ownership is really reclaiming authorship, if you will, as an author of your life. It's you taking that dive into it and saying, I own this. I own my contribution to it, and now I need to fix whatever it is I need to fix. If you wrote the first half of the story, you can always write the second half differently. If you wrote the first half of the story, you can always write the second half differently. Quite often I have said that what has happened to you tells that story of others and situations. How you respond to it tells the story of you. This isn't about guilt. It's about your freedom. And you can't lead yourself or others if you're still busy pretending that you had nothing to do with how things turned out. You still have to own your part in it. Even if it's you looking at that saying, well, I made a choice to engage. That's not the outcome that I was looking for, but I made the choice to engage, and now I'm going to make the choice to disengage. Own it. Grow from it. And as always, stay sharp, stay free. Hey, listen, hit the like button if you would. Share this with your family and friends. You never know how it's going to help them on their journey as well as your own. I am everywhere on social media. It feels like on TikTok and X and Instagram, Facebook, I do that every week, and Truth Social. So hit me up on any of those. Links are all down below. If you decide you'd like to subscribe, that would be awesome. You can either subscribe to just the podcast, or you can actually make a contribution every month, which helps pay for all the shenanigans with all this stuff that I do. So I always appreciate that. And as always, let each care for self, and all will be cared for. Enjoy your freedom on the 4th of July. Until next week.